All right, so for the last video, we constructed our complete upper pattern. So you should have these two pieces here, which will make the complete upper. On this video, we're going to focus on making the lining. Like we did on the ballet pump, ballet flat, we're going to use the upper piece to trace the pattern over to make a pattern for the lining. Okay, so one thing that you should just be aware of is that we're going to stop the lining here on both sides. So we're going to basically be going from this point where we started our pocket all the way around in the pattern. Then we end here, but we're going to need to add one more little portion before we get to our counter pocket, because the counter pocket is going to pick up at this spot right here at that line. All right, so like we did before, let's use the upper pattern. There's no need to trace way into the back because we're not going to use that. I just mark that line, or again, you can use your awl to kind of transfer this line through. But just so you can see, we're starting at this line where I've kind of drawn those two arrows. Draw all the way around the top line. I'm going to include this allowance at the top because I need that. That's going to be the allowance that we cut away like we did last time. So I'm just tracing around this whole pattern. I don't want anything to move around or shift while I'm tracing. Okay, you're going to need to include this allowance that's here. All windows should be transferred over. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and trace my windows. Again, I'm just tracing them. You're going to trace and cut the windows out and transfer all of your lines over to this pattern. All right, and my top line allowance of 7 millimeters, I'm going to include that. And once we fold the upper top line, then we will end up with this lining still sticking up, just like we did on the ballet flat. So I've got all my lines traced. Again, you're going to cut those out. Here, I'm going to go ahead and mark this line, which I want to cut off my pattern. My heel pocket's going to start behind that line. Okay, so here we got to add this piece onto our lining so we can make it line up. I am going to go ahead and score my center line. So it's able to be folded. Get a nice fold. Now, let's go ahead and get this piece cut out. Okay, and on that piece we don't need any allowance there. Okay, here. All right, so then you would go back through and cut out all of these windows so you can trace this onto your lining. All right, so the piece that we need is going to be based off of our upper. So if you're looking at this, it's this portion that we need here. So if you remember, we made a copy of this portion from this portion of our upper pattern, so that fits perfectly, and we took it and brought it over to this side. Okay, so now we need this side, this little portion here that I have marked A. So what I'm going to do with that is take that, put it onto a piece of oak tag. I'm going to trace that through. I'm going to mark those points. Trace through. Okay, so we're still going to keep this 5 allowance here. Okay, we're going to keep our 7 on top. We have our 20 on bottom. And then on the other side of this red line to this side, we're going to add 5 millimeters. Okay, so I'm going to mark my original line because I've scored that or marked it with my awl. Okay.